one that was close to my top picks here. I'm gonna kind of see if he makes it, but I might talk about him afterwards as just another solid but not spectacular player at safety. But Mike Brown was off my radar. That wasn't one that I had in my top, but great choice, man. That's excellent pick.
Nice,
excellent pick.
All right, man. You got Carolina up next, 23rd.
Okay, so what Carolina did was they went with a corner. They went with Rashard Anderson at number 23. I'm going to change that up a little bit.
Good.
Yeah, that didn't exactly work out. I'm actually going to go ahead and give Carolina a weapon here.
Okay.
It was a guy that I talked about a little bit earlier. He turned out to be a fine player in the league. He was an explosive player and stuck around for a long time. I believe it's our first wide receiver off the board, unless I missed something, right?
No, you're right. That's the first wide receiver.
One, all the way down to 23. I'm going Lavernius Coles here. I'm pulling the trigger, giving Carolina a weapon. I probably should have had this prepared, but I had him going at a little different spot. Do you know when Steve Smith got
Smith, I believe, comes in 2001 or 2.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's going to be filling in that Steve Smith role.
Yeah, so I think we get a type of player like that a little bit earlier. I thought Steve Smith came a little bit after that. I wasn't sure. But if they go on to get Steve Smith later, what a nasty little 1-2 punch. That They never really filled in that second receiver next to Steve Smith over there. They had Muhsin Muhammad for a little while.
Yeah, before he went to Chicago.
Good
yeah.
Before he went to Chicago, but next to Steve Smith, never really that complimentary receiver, and I think Lavernius Coles could do that pretty well here for Carolina, so I'm going Mr. Coles.
I like that pick, man. I had him 26 on my board, and he's a very good, solid receiver for both the Redskins and the Jets. And if I'm not mistaken, he's also a decent return man as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think on punts, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was nasty.
So, you can double dip there, kind of get some extra value there at the position. So why not? Get a solid receiver, decent return man. Love it. Carolina, man.
Very cool.
All right, moving on. San Francisco, another first-round pick. Their original pick this time around was 24. They had selected Ahmad Plummer, defensive back. I'm going to go defensive back again, but it's not going to be Ahmad Plummer. This time it's going to be Deion Grant.
That was the guy I was talking about. That was the other safety I was talking about. Yep. I wasn't sure where to put him, and I'll let you speak to it a little bit more, but the reason I was talking about him was because never a Pro Bowler, never spectacular, but just super solid career. Great player. So I'll let you speak more to it, but I love it, man.
You pretty much just summed it up, man. Just stability. Just a solid defensive back. He had some very solid years. I'm kind of shocked that he didn't have a Pro Bowl under his resume. You look at some of his numbers here. He had seasons where he had, I think his rookie season, he had 5 interceptions. But he had multiple seasons where he had about 3-4 interceptions. And then on top of that, he was a very solid run defender. He could come up and play in the box. And on top of that, he was a very good leader. I remember him being on that New York Giants football team that won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. He was a very key piece in that secondary. Got as a Super Bowl champion and solid first-round pick, man. He originally had went, I believe, in the second round. Yep, went the second round to Carolina. So it would have been nice if you would have selected him for Carolina with that pick before, kind of stuck with him. But, San Fran gets him in this redraft here, and I think they're going to be very happy with the selection.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Minnesota.
So Minnesota went defensively with
you like my Minnesota accent?
Chris Hovan. That was pretty good.
Minnesota.
That's a tough accent, actually.
Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, don't you know? Like, we're drafting players. That one wasn't as good.
That's like an Irish.
Yeah, I don't know where I went with that one.
Yeah, you sounded like Conor McGregor.
Shit.
It's all good.
It's all right.
It's all good.
All right.
Who are we going to draft from Minnesota, though?
I don't know that I can now. I might have to see myself out. All right, so I'm going, now that we're, looking at it, you realize how time flies here. We're already down to number 25. So I've got to pick a guy here that I always really liked, one of my favorite players. I've already talked about Shaun Alexander. This was a complimentary piece there during their Super Bowl runs. And I just love the guy. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't take him. So I'm going with one of my favorite receivers to give Minnesota a little bit of action at wide receiver. We're going Darrell Jackson. That was my guy there.
Wow.
Yeah,
what?
That's my reach.
Yeah.
I always loved Darrell Jackson.
Talk about it.
Darrell Jackson was just a player that I remember fondly just because I really liked that Seattle Seahawks team. He was a guy that was never a standout, but always super solid target for Matt Hasselbeck. always was leading them in receptions and yards and touchdowns every year. Wasn't really talked about because the big deal on that offense was Sean Alexander. But when they were airing it out, no doubt it was going to Darrell Jackson. Always loved that guy. Also, just as a side note, I had him a few years in a row in fantasy, and he always killed it for me. I always got him late. He was kind of like, if you recall, a guy that played for you guys for quite a few years was Derek Mason.
Yeah.
Underrated guy. I'm not saying that Darrell Jackson is anywhere near as good as Derek Mason because he's probably not, but this is just a guy that I always really liked. Solid receiver. There's another one that's a little sneaky that I could have went with here, but again, man, this is my draft. I just like Darrell Jackson. He's a good weapon, and that's where he's going. Late in the first.
3,000-yard season. 3,000-yard seasons.
Yep.
All right, 3,000-yard seasons. He had 110 touchdown receiving season in 2006 for the Seahawks. That's a solid pick, man.
He was a good player.
I like that.
And in Minnesota, he's going to do well there too, man. He's a great guy, great player.
And on top of that, you think about the Minnesota offense back then. They had Randy Moss as the prominent wide receiver. He's going to be seeing a lot of single coverage.
And the number 2, Darrell Jackson, killer, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
That's solid, man. I like that. It's going to build a very dangerous offense for that Vikings team. That year, the Vikings, where they ranked at? They went 10-6 that year. So, yeah, man, they build up they're strengthening a strength. Because they still got Chris Carter at that point, do they? Don't they?
They'll probably be Chris Carter towards the end of the career.
Right.
But yeah, this was the first pick where, I don't know, I just looking at it, this was just a guy that I really liked. I wasn't thinking too much positionally here, like what they had working with. Obviously, you don't want to draft strength on strength on strength, so maybe not the smartest pick in the world, but this was one that was just a bit of a homer feel for me. I wanted him to go. I'm not sure looking at my board exactly who you're going to take and exactly who's left, but with a couple of the other guys that I wanted to wedge in for some of these teams, Darrell Jackson had to go right here for me.
I respect
Shout
it,
out to my guy.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. All right, cool. Moving on. I'm going to draft for the Buffalo Bills because nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. I got to do it deeper to that. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. There we go.
That was much better.
All right. So originally the Buffalo Bills selected at 26 defensive end Eric Flowers, who lasted 5 seasons and had 5 sacks. We're not going to go that pick again.
I wouldn't relive that.
Yeah, we're going to go a different direction. And at this point, Buffalo, they had 2 solid receivers, Eric Mose and Peerless Price. So I don't think they need to go receiver. I am going to go defensive end, though. It's going to be a different one this time. It's going to be Darren Howard, defensive end, Kansas State. If anybody remember Darren Howard, he's a very solid defensive end. Played, originally drafted in the 2nd round by the New Orleans Saints. Had a very decent career there. Went to Philadelphia, even had a 10-sack season in Philadelphia. Very solid defensive lineman. Produced, consistent 6 to 8 sack guy. Sometimes he'll peak with 10. I think his highest was maybe 12. But over his career, he has 67 career sacks overall. And I think that he would be a good addition for that Buffalo Bills team, who I believe next year is when they get Aaron Schobel in 2001.
Okay.
So
that's a great shout out there. Schobel was a player that, doesn't get a lot of love.
Very underrated. He was a solid
time.
defensive lineman. Yeah. So,
really
I think they're going to draft Darren Howard here, 26th overall, and just kind of solidify that defensive line there with him.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that at all. So this is an interesting pick here for me, the Jets. So let's recap what we've done for them so far. We have rebuilt this Jets team to be a defensive dynasty right here. So we have gone with KGB, Kamir Bajabiamila.
Ooh, you nailed that.
I killed it, right?
You nailed that.
KGB, that was my guy. Corey Simon, we went back. He's not going to get hurt this time. He's going to stay healthy, and he's going to be dominant for years. Then you came back with my undrafted Miami Dolphins legend, Adewale Ogunleye. So if you're thinking about this, I had a little epiphany here as I was going down. This is one of those guys that I wanted to make sure that I got drafted and that got wedged in here somewhere, and I think this is a perfect opportunity. So if we're going to build a dominant defense here, one of the most important things when you're building a dominant defense, I think, is a running game. But then also underrated is that you want to win the field position game, right?
X.
Right? So field position, turnovers, right, with the great defense, and running the football, classic football. So what I think we do here, we change it up a little bit, and we give them one of the best weapons at all time at moving the chains, all in,
Okay.
Dante Hall.
Wow.
I think here, late in the first round, you're the Jets. You can do that. You can do that here because you already had 3 first-round picks. So you can reach a bit on a player who's going to give you that, not only that excitement factor of Dante Hall, but also he's going to move the chains for you on special teams. You're going to win those field position battles. Dante Hall, number 27, goes to the Jets. He wouldn't be on my top board as a receiver, but I think in this case, I changed it up on the fly here. As we're looking with what we're doing, I think you win those field position battles. Dante Hall.
I had Dante Hall ranked 32nd on my board, and I didn't know if I would have the balls to pull the trigger, and I'm glad you did, because I fucking love Dante Hall. He's one of those guys that literally kind of changed the position when it comes to return men.
Yeah, he was like Devin Hester before Devin Hester.
Exactly. Like, you go, listen, kids, I'm talking to the young ones out there right now. If you don't know who we're talking about with Dante Hall, go to YouTube, put on Dante Hall highlight film, and just sit back and enjoy the show. The man was the fucking human joystick for a reason. Breaking boys' ankles like he's out there on a basketball court made it look ridiculous. Not the greatest receiver, obviously, but as a return man, put fear in the hearts every time they kicked it off to that man. Dante Hall, I love that pick.
He changed the game, man.
He
really did. He's awesome. So, and again, here, I think... Because same thing, I had him kind of up there, and I'm thinking, where does he go? But now, after we built this defensive juggernaut here, I think you give a crazy weapon to that team that can, steal you a touchdown here or there on the return game while you've got that great defense. Yeah. I think it's a perfect fit.
That's dope,
It's one of my favorite picks so far.
That's dope. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, cool. Number 28, Indianapolis. They're coming off of what is that? That's the AFC Championship loss, right? They're picking 28?
Yes, sir, 28th.
All right. So... they lost to the Tennessee. I'm assuming they lost to Tennessee. One of those teams they lost to. But anyways, they got Peyton Manning. They got Marvin Harrison at this point, right? I believe they got Marvin Harrison at this point. Yep.
This would have been pre-Reggie Wayne. But during the Marvin Harrison era.
This is pre-Dallas Clark. Is this pre-Jeff Saturday as well?
Ooh,
I believe it's pre-Jeff Saturday.
Probably. Because unless he played like 17 years or something, which he might have, this would have been pre-Saturday.
Okay. Give me 5 seconds. I just want to make sure.
I would do that whole Jeopardy music shit, but there's no way I'd do it better than you.
All right. So Jeff Saturday came into the league in... Oh, he came in with Baltimore in 98. Okay, so
did he really?
Yeah, he's with the Indianapolis Colts in 99. So, all right, so they got Jeff Saturday on the team. I'm going to change my pick. I was going to go center for them with Brad Meester.
Okay.
I'm actually going to change it up because it is pre-Reggie Wayne. They're going to go Plaxico Burress here. Wide receiver, Michigan State.
Oh, can't blame you there. That's a nice pick. He actually fell, man.
He fell hard.
He went off my radar.
Yeah, he fell hard.
Okay.
Originally he was drafted top 10 to Pittsburgh. He went, number 9? Now he's fallen to freaking 28?
If I'm being honest, I would have taken him as a player over Darrell Jackson, but I just had to wedge him in there somewhere. Darrell Jackson's my guy, but great pick with Burris there.
Yeah, Plaxico, man. We talked about him a little bit earlier when we went through the original picks. Never made a Pro Bowl, never made an All-Pro, but was a very solid receiver for Pittsburgh as a number 2 behind Hines Ward. Got signed by the New York Giants to become the number 1. And, he did it. He had some really good seasons with New York. That one playoff where, the New York Giants won their first Super Bowl with Eli Manning at quarterback. He absolutely dominated that whole playoff run, especially against the Green Bay Packers, where he just made Al Harris look like a fool that whole game. I remember watching that game live, and I just Plaxico Burress is wide open every fucking play. How does this keep happening? Big target, 6'5", 6'6", 220-pound receiver. Red zone threat, gives it to a red zone threat to Peyton Manning to throw to. Perfect compliment to Marvin Harrison. Now they probably won't be drafting Reggie Wayne next year, in the next year draft, but fuck it, they got Plaxico. I think he with Peyton Manning would put up very similar numbers that Reggie Wayne put up. I think he's an excellent pick for this Indianapolis Colts offense at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. I can't blame you at all there. That's a guy that really fell. I had him listed. I had him listed way up there on the board.
I had him 21st on my board.
Yeah, he was sitting at there at 25 for me. And again, like I said, I shoehorned in DJ, Darrell Jackson, and then obviously went with Dante Hall. And that's why I said I had to get these guys in. I'm glad he ended up going in the first round because I think he is a first round talent. So that worked out pretty well.
Got 3 picks left, Ed.
All right.
You got 2 of the 3.
Got 2 of the 3 left. All right, so I got to try to figure out here who I'm trying to fit in.